20 minutes is roughly what I expect, yeah?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Can be 1 hour also. I mean, it can be half an hour also. Between 20 and 30 minutes. Okay, it has started recording. So, all right. So what did we do last time? Last time, basically, we did LP is complete, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
LP
Yes.
is complete, and we also showed that simple functions are dense.
Yes.
Let's quickly
Yes, sir,
recall.
simple.
Let's quickly recall the keywords. LP complete. What was the main idea? You took a Cauchy sequence, got a subsequence appropriately with successive differences being small enough, and you summed it up, right? And
Yes.
got a function. Got a function. So here the only point to check is that the sum makes sense. And sum makes sense. You showed using what was the measure theoretic result we used in order to show that the sum makes sense. What is the word?
Fato's lemma.
Fato's lemma. Okay, so
Fato's.
you use Fato to make sure that the sum makes sense. And once the sum makes sense, you are in good shape because by taking the partial sums, taking the you call the sum f almost everywhere. You define as 0 elsewhere, etc. And this f is pointwise limit of these partial sums. So you got a candidate f, and then you show that this f is indeed the limit of the original sequence. Once again, you had to use Fato's lemma for this.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So twice we used Fato's lemma, and there was a nice corollary to this result, which was that if you know that Fn converges to F in LP norm, then in particular it's Cauchy, and if you go through this proof, you have shown that the pointwise limit is the limit in LP norm. So what is the corollary then? If Fn converges to F in the P norm, then Fn converges to F pointwise almost everywhere. So that's a corollary to keep in mind. And then we showed simple functions are dense. What kind of simple functions?
Complex.
True, but complex, measurable, etc. But there was a condition, no? There was a finite measure condition,
Yes.
right? So the
And
points where S is non-zero, if you assume that the measure is finite, then obviously it's contained in LP. And then we showed it's dense in LP. What was the key ingredient in the proof? One word if you have to give.
Approximation.
Approximation, of course, but there was a measure theoretic result we used. You approximate, you get that Sn, and then you had to show that F minus Sn, the P norm is dominated convergence theorem. Okay, so that's what we did last time, and today we will finish that chapter. Let me start sharing the screen, and you can confirm that you can see the slides.
Yes.
Okay, so today is lecture 16 and we'll finish that chapter. So chapter 3 is small. We could have finished in 2 classes, but I went slow, and we will finish today. Okay, so last time, okay, so you see the mistake that I have made. I think in one class earlier also this happened, right? You see what has happened here in the slide? The full page is coming without the pauses. Did it happen in one class before also?
I don't think so, sir. Not happening.
So okay, so in some other course it happened. You know what to do in the, can you see the text file?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Do you know what to do? So I have all these pauses here, right? Everything is there, but it was not coming. That's because in the Beamer slide here I have typed handout. So I have to delete that. Okay, do you know this?
No.
No, sir.
No, sir.
But
So,
now I know.
yeah, so this is the easy way. You need only one file. So if you remove the handout, it will come as pauses. And if you put the handout there, so that's what I do. So if you put the handout and compile, then all the pauses will go. Okay. So when I put on modal, I put this back. It's a good idea, no? I mean, it's a smart way, right?
Very smart way.
So I did not know this long back until 3-4 years back when students said, without the pauses you need, I would create 2 files. I will type with pauses and then I will, remove all the pauses and create another file and would do that. Then one of my colleagues told me, why do you do all this? You can just do this. And okay. So, yeah. So last time we saw that the LP spaces are complete and simple functions are dense. And these were done for any measure space, right? Did I have conditions on x comma m comma mu? Not really, right?
Yes.
It was arbitrary measure space. Mu is a positive measure. No, mu is a positive measure, but arbitrary measure space. Okay, now today I want to apply Lucene. So what are the conditions that I should put? When is Lucene true?
Measure is finite.
Well, yeah, there was something, but more generally, what are the conditions on x, m, and mu? Lucene we did not prove for arbitrary measure spaces. What was the setting?
I think
RRT.
Hausdorff and locally compact.
Yeah, so setting is as in RRT. Not just Hausdorff locally compact. We are saying that the measure mu has all those properties in RRT. So outer regular on finite measure sets, inner regular, complete, and compact sets of finite measure. All these properties are assumed.
We can say that this measure is coming from RRT.
This measure
is coming from RRT.
Yeah, measure is as in RRT. Okay. So assume the setting of RRT so that you have Lucene. Okay. So in particular, X is locally compact Hausdorff. And so here there is an extra pause, 8 and 9. So I'll remove that. So setup is that of RRT. So this is what page 3 of lecture 12. What should this slide be? Page 3 of lecture 12. Lecture 12 is what? Take a guess. I mean, we are going to apply Lucene. So what is this slide?
Lucen's theorem, I think.
It is Lucen's theorem. Okay, setup is that of RRT. Locally compact Hausdorff space, measure mu satisfying all those properties, F is measurable, and support of F is contained inside a set of finite measure. This was our assumption, right?
Yes.
Remember? Yes. And then what is the result? What is the next line?
Lucen's functions with compactness approximately by
G, which is CCX, such that the places where they differ,
measure of that is less than epsilon.
Yeah, so given epsilon, there is a G depending on epsilon, such that the set where they differ is measures less than epsilon, right? And we may arrange it so that
Supremum of Gx.
supremum of mod G is less than or equal to mod F, right? And you remember there was a corollary, no? There was a nice corollary where we used this and another famous result and got a nice result. What is that corollary? What is the result that you added to Lucene in order to get that corollary? Borel-Cantelli. And what was the result? Do you remember? If mod F is less than or equal to 1, then you can get a sequence Gn mod Gn less than or equal to 1 CCX such that F equal to limit Gn.
Limit of Gn.
But what is a crucial word now? Limit of Gn?
Almost everywhere.
Almost everywhere. Almost everywhere. Okay. So that I don't need. I need only Lucene. A consequence of this, we saw that CCX is dense in LP mu. So can you guess what my next slide is? This is from lecture 12. So in this lecture, lecture 16, what is my next slide? What should be the result?
CCX is the dense in
Yeah, CCX is dense in LP mu. Here, 1 less than or equal to P strictly less than infinity is important. Okay, P equal to infinity, this is not true. Whereas simple functions being dense for P equal to infinity also it is true. Okay, so we will do that, but I would like you to recall the proof of Lucene very quickly. What were the key ideas? So how did you use this thing? Support of F is contained inside a set of finite measure. What was the first step? We had a crucial first step where we did many things, and then we had the in full generality. Do you recall? What is the first step? On support of F contained in a set
First
of
we
finite
prove it on
measure.
compact set and
Yeah,
bounded
that
set.
finite measure set you assumed is compact, and then you assumed on F. What is the condition on F?
F is bounded by 1.
F is bounded by 1, so F is bounded is same as bounded by 1 by normalizing. So you assumed F is bounded also, right? And then you remove compactness with finite measure. Agree? Yeah?
Yes.
And what was the main idea? If you assume compact set, what was the proof? You assume F is less than 1 also. Then what was the main idea? You had to go back to that approximation by simple functions, right?
I think we have to use some unitons.
True, true. But before reaching there, you wrote F as a sum, and then you, for each summand, you applied Urison. And then you summed it up and got the G as sum of those Hn. Right? This was the structure of the proof. But how did you write F as a sum?
By partition of unity? No.
Not really. No, you used approximation by simple functions, right?
Yeah. Then we.
And you are restricting up to 1 only. So from that, you got the some extra property. No, you observed something, right? You observe that 2 power n times 2 power n times, right?
Tn.
I did
Tn.
this, no, 1 by
Sn
2, 1
minus.
by 4, 1 by 8, etc. So you got that these approximating functions are actually characteristic functions of a certain set, which we call capital Tn.
Yes, the difference. We take a difference Sn
Take the difference,
plus
take the
1.
difference, take the difference, right? And that the difference is a characteristic function, and that we call capital Tn. Right? Is that correct? Capital
The difference
Tn.
function which called is small tn, sir, and the set.
The set is called capital T. It's characteristic function of capital Tn, right?
Tn.
And then we showed that summation t power n or 2 power minus n t power n or t power n. One of those is same as f, right?
Yes, and with
2
compact.
power minus n tn maybe.
Summation on upon 2n to the power n. This was
Okay. And then these tn's are characteristic function of tn, capital Tn. And then what did we do? So then what did we do? See, you also use this fact in order to get, G to have compact support. Continuity was easy. In order to have compact support, you use that particular result about locally compact spaces. You can put it inside V such that V bar is compact. Right? For a compact set, you can do that. So what did you do? I think we anyway have a compact set. No, we are saying that support is contained inside a compact set, right? And that compact set you put inside open V such that V bar is compact, right?
can do is yes.
And these Tn's characteristic function of Tn, right? So Tn's are K is contained in Tn, no? No. What is a containment? Let me just take that lecture. This is lecture 12, right? It's good to see the proof. Lecture 12, right? I think you have to mute. I think some disturbance is coming from one of you. So this is Lucin. Can you see Lucin? So we
Yes,
are
Yes, yes.
here and we saw that fx is summation tnx only. There's no 2 power n, right? Fx is summation tnx, where tn is this difference Sn minus 1, and we assume there is compact, and Tn is contained in A such that this happens, and A you chose V such that V bar is compact. This much we did. Okay. Now what we have done is, yes, for Tn, because measure of Tn is finite. Why is measure of Tn finite? Because A is compact, finite measure, so measure of Tn is finite. And for Tn you chose Kn and Vn. Sandwiching. Agree? And then what you
Yes.
do is apply Urizon to Kn and Vn and get Hn. And then you take summation 2 power minus n Hn. And this is continuous and it is of compact support. By that construction, V bar is compact. Okay. And then you notice that these agree on Vn minus Kn, and therefore the sum agrees except in union of Vn minus Kn. And Vn minus Kn is small, union of Vn minus Kn is small, that is measure less than epsilon. This was the proof. Okay.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
what about general? If K is not, I mean, if A is not compact, then what did you do? If A is not compact, what you did was you can take a compact set contained in A so that the difference is small, right?
Yes.
And you can restrict your attention to F restricted to K. Rest you take F to be 0 or something. Okay. And then we also wanted some boundedness. We did this trick. You define these Bn's, Bi containing intersection is 0, mu of Bn is 0. This was a crucial point. And then F can be written as something which is bounded outside Bn. Okay. So therefore, if support is contained in a compact set and bounded, you can apply the previous claim, right? So this particular function outside Bn, if you consider, and in K if you consider. So if you consider this function on K intersection Bn complement. Okay. Is Bn open or closed?
You know.
You know nothing, no, because B it's only a measurable function, right? Bn you know nothing, no, whether it's open or closed or something, you don't know, right?
Yes. Don't know.
That's okay, that's okay. You just take Bn complement and you take intersection K and consider F there and outside let us say 0 or something. Yeah. You consider F, you consider a new F, which is the original F restricted to K and outside K is 0. Okay. Now if you take K intersection Bn complement, then F agrees with this, right? Because on Bn complement it agrees with this. And on Bn complement intersection K if you take, outside is 0 for the new function. So support is contained inside K, right?
Subset
Because
of
outside
yes.
you define the new function outside K is 0. So support is contained inside K. K is a compact set. And this function is bounded because you are on Bn complement. Therefore, by the previous claim, you will get a G such that the difference of G and F, the places where G and F don't agree, it will be very small, right?
yes,
Yes. Yes.
But so how small you want, you choose n large enough. Okay, so now you are in Bn complement intersection K. But now you're worried what will happen on Bn because the claim applies only on Bn complement intersection K, right? So inside Bn complement intersection K, the places where f and g differ, that is small measure. But in Bn, what will happen? In Bn, you don't care because by choosing n large, Bn has small measure. So in Bn is okay. Inside Bn is okay because that is small measure. Now you're worried what will happen outside K. But that is also okay because outside K also is small measure. So all those will go to that epsilon. This was a proof, right? Okay. Now you are taking support of f is contained inside a set. What is the definition of support? Support of f?
Collection of all those functions where f is not equal.
Not zero, and in our definition we take a closure, no?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Compact. Or compact.
Yeah. And well, it need not be compact. It's closed. It's a closure of x as a
Closure means close.
Closure of x as a fx is not zero. Now my question is, are we really using the closure is contained in A or point where fx is not zero is contained in A in this proof? Where exactly we have used it first? So you chose all this Tn. Yeah, so here you are writing limit Sn as f and f is summation Tn has nothing to do with support of f, no? This only uses the fact that f is measurable and f is less than 1, right? Nothing more, right? Here you don't use support. And so where are we using the fact that support is contained in A?
Support is contained in A, so
Yeah, in order to say that
function.
Tn is contained in A. In order to say that Tn is contained in A, right? Because f is right 2 power Tn is a characteristic function of capital Tn, right? So Tn is also a characteristic. Tn is like a characteristic function, right? 2 power minus n times a characteristic function. So outside Tn it is 0, right? So support is contained in A is used in order to say that Tn is contained in A. You agree? That's where it is used. If support is not contained in A, you cannot claim that Tn is contained in A, right?
Yes, sir. Because we are controlling function.
Because outside Tn it is 0. This we know. Outside Tn. Yeah, on Tn it is non-zero. On Tn, that's what is important. On Tn it is non-zero, right? F is non-zero on Tn. Agree? Because Tn, the function small tn, what is the value on Tn? It is 1 by 2 power n. And outside Tn it is 0.
And it is
Right?
also can be used like this, defined because compact support is contained in A, so char function is well defined, so infinite.
Correct. That is correct. But in order to show that Tn is contained in A, we are using the fact that support of f is contained in A, right?
Yes.
Because on Tn, what is f?
On Tn, char function of Tn, small tn.
On Tn, f is non-zero, right?
1.
1 by
1
2.
no, it may be 1 by 2
1
power
by
n, and
2,
maybe Tn's also intersect, no? So it may be some number, but the point is f is non-zero. F will be
Yes,
sum of some
because
positive numbers.
So,
Okay.
yes, non-zero
And
because
so f is non-zero on Tn. If f is non-zero on Tn, then Tn is if support is contained in A, then Tn is contained in A, right?
yes.
Because outside A, f is 0, and on Tn it is non-zero. So Tn is contained in A. So Tn is contained in A is crucial. I mean, this is where we are using support is contained in A. Now, Am I using the closures contained in A, or am I only using fx, not the points where fx is non-zero is contained in A? That's enough, no? Right? I'm only using the fact that set of all x such that fx is non-zero, that is contained in A, right? In order to conclude that Tn is contained in A. Outside A, fx is 0. That's all that I'm using. Yeah? Closure is not playing a role, right?
Yes.
So suppose you define support of f as set of all x as that fx is not 0. Don't take the closure. Then also this proof goes through. Okay, I'm making a very minor point. It doesn't matter. Suppose support had closure, then also it's okay. That's what I'm putting in the next slide. So coming back to today's lecture, observe from the proof of Lucen that we only need this to be contained in a set of finite measure. Okay. One, you can go back to the proof and see that only this is required. Suppose you don't want to get confused. Suppose closure is there. Even then it's okay, because the crucial first step is under the assumption that A is compact and F is bounded, of course, that I don't need now. And if A is compact, then these two are same, no? Support of F is a closure of this. So if closure is contained in A, then of course this set is contained in A. So one way is always true. And if this is contained in A, then the closure is also contained in A because A is compact. Agree? Because closure is the smallest closed set containing that, and compact sets are closed because of function.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So in the first step, this is enough. Even not analyzing all that thing because of compactness, this is enough. This implies this is contained in A. Okay. And in the second step, anyway, it's approximations and all that. Support is not playing a role. Okay, so the point is, in the proof of Lucen, this contained in a set of finite measures is enough, not the closure. Agree?
Yes,
Yeah?
sir.
Okay, so
Just
this
is
I
the
am going
reason.
to use. So in the next step, when A is so arbitrary measure, we choose compact K, this is small and this much, etc. So you don't need the closure to be contained in it. You need only this much. Okay. So now let us go back and assume P is not infinity, and we are going to claim that CCX is dense in LP mu. So can you tell me the strategy of this proof? Already we have proved that simple functions are dense. But what kind of simple functions are dense? After all, simple functions should be contained in LP, so we put a condition, right? What is the condition?
Yes, sir. Where simple function not equal to 0, measure of that set is less than
Yeah.
infinity.
So
Finite.
there you are not taking a closure. That is why I went back and explained that part. Okay. So set of all x says that Sx is not 0. That should have finite measure, right? That set, what did we denote? Set of all such simple functions, we denoted it by capital S.
Capital
And
S.
capital S is dense in LP mu, right?
Yes, sir.
And this kind of S, does it satisfy conditions of Lucen's theorem? Assume X is locally compact, Hausdorff, etc. So you can apply Lucen.
So yes, it's
So
contained in CCX. So CCX is also dense in LP.
correct. But Lucen can be applied to a function S and capital S. So what is the condition to apply Lucen? Support of F. I mean, set of all X is that Fx is not 0. That should be contained in a set of finite measure. Is that true for S? It is measurable function, and set of all X is that Sx is not 0 is finite measure is given to us, right?
So satisfies all the condition of Lucen.
So it satisfies all the conditions of Lucen, including that finite measure thing. Therefore, there is a G such that G in CCX such that Sx is Gx except possibly a very small measure set, right? So that means
Yes.
that is enough to say that CCX is dense in S. So by Lucen, you can conclude that CCX is dense in S, and S is anyway dense in LP because of DCT, and therefore CCX is dense subset of a dense subset is dense, no? And if A is contained in B is contained in C, and if B is dense in C and A is contained in B, dense in B, then A is dense in C, right? So that is enough. So S is this, and we know that S is contained in LP. Here the main point was it has finite range. That is why this is true. And S is dense in LP by DCT. Now we show CCX is dense in S. So take an S, and this has finite measure. So you can apply Lucene. So let epsilon be positive. There is a G which is in CCX such that where they differ is very small. And therefore, and also you can arrange so that supremum of mod Gx is less than or equal to supremum of mod Sx, correct? And supremum of mod Sx is same as the infinity norm of S, no? Why is that? Because S anyway it takes only finitely many values, and supremum of mod Sx is same as maximum of mod Sx, and that has to be the infinity norm, because if you take anything above, then beyond that it's empty set which has measure 0. So you take the least, right? You are taking the infimum of all those points, no? That is the essential supremum, right? Infimum. And infimum of that set is same as the minimum. So it coincides with the maximum of Sx. Anyway, that's just a notation. So you can arrange like this. And therefore, if you take the P norm of G minus S, P norm of G minus S, you think about it. What is the P norm of G minus S? It is integral of mod G minus S power P, right?
Yes, sir.
Integral of mod G minus S power P. But mod G minus S is less than or equal to mod G plus mod S by triangle inequality.
Yes.
For at any point X, this is true. Yeah, mod G plus mod S, mod Gx plus mod Sx. Now
Yes.
mod G is less than or equal to mod S by this.
So 2 times, yes.
So 2 times. So 2 times norm S infinity comes out, then you are taking power P, and then it comes out, and then you are taking a 1 by P also. So that remains. P and 1 by P goes away. Then what is remaining? Remaining is where, so that is G minus S that you have taken out. And G minus S is almost always 0, right? Where it is not 0 only you have to do this calculation. And where it is not 0, it is bounded by epsilon, the measure. Agree? So integral epsilon d mu, which is integral 1 d mu, because the maximum has come out. So that is a measure of that set, which is less than epsilon, and power 1 by P, therefore it is less than epsilon power 1 by P. Agree? Yeah, so this computation is okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now have we done CCX's dense in S? Because you chose an arbitrary S, and if you choose an epsilon, I've got a G in CCX such that the difference is smaller than that. So difference is made arbitrarily small, right? So if you choose an S, I have found a G such that the difference is arbitrarily small in the correct norm, in the P norm, and that means CCX is dense in S in the P norm, and S is dense in LP in the P norm. Therefore, CCX is dense in LP in the P norm. Okay, so I have used in this calculation, I have used P is not infinity, right? Only then it is defined by an integral, etc. No, P equal to infinity. Infinity norm is not defined using an integral, right? It is an essential supremum. So in this step, CCX is dense in S. I am using the fact that P is not infinity in this step in order to work out the integral. Clear?
Yes.
In S dense in LP, I am not using P is infinity. I mean P naught is not infinity. But in this step, I am using P not infinity. Okay. So let me make some, and it is not true also. It's not just that this proof is not true. The result is also not true. CCX, the completion of CCX is not L infinity. Okay, but let me make a remark about Euclidean space. It's an important remark, and I'm copy pasting from Rudin. On CCRK, if you define the metric by norm F minus G, the first observation is it is actually a metric even without going to equivalence classes. Why? Because these are continuous functions. right? Earlier there was a problem on measure 0 set what might happen, etc. But for continuous functions, no such problem. If integral of f is 0, then f is 0, right? For a positive continuous function. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct? Yeah, because
Yes,
of
sir.
continuity. Okay. So this is indeed a metric, and also essential supremum and actual supremum are same for a continuous function.
This is also correct. Yes.
Yeah, that anyway I don't need. So we have concluded that LPRK is the completion of the metric space CCRK with this metric DP. How did we conclude this? Any metric space has a completion, no? Any metric space can be completed. How do you do that? You define this equivalence relation, right? Null sequence and something, and then it's an easy proof, right? Every metric space can be completed uniquely.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But that is very easy, and that is there in Baby Rudin at the starting step itself. You would have all done in MSc in the very first course in real analysis. But I will come to the crucial point here. But we have concluded independently that LPRK is the completion of CCRK. Why?
By our theorem. Wait.
Because we have shown that LPRK is complete, and we have also shown that CCRK is dense in LPRK. So these two put together, LPRK is the completion of CCRK, right? Under the P metric. Right? So
Yes, sir.
next observation is this dP as norm of f minus g p norm, and what is the definition? Integral of mod f minus g power p d mu etc. Right? This we could have defined using Riemann integral also. This norm we could have defined in terms of Riemann integral, no? On continuous functions, which are Riemann integral. Continuous functions of compact support are Riemann integral. Take k equal to 1 so that you are comfortable with, your one variable Riemann integral.
Yes.
So I could have defined the metric using Riemann integral. And this part CCRK is dense in LP, etc. will go through, no? I'm only using the property of the integral, right? And for Riemann integral also it is true, no? Integral maximum comes out, all those things are true, right? And measure is same as length, right? The length will remain, all those things will be true.
Yes, sir.
Right? Yeah. So with Riemann integral, you could have done all this. CCRK is dense in LPRK and all that. And therefore, what you have shown as Lebesgue integral is actually completing the Riemann integral. I mean, this completing is in quotes, but do you agree? You could have defined CCRK, you could have put a metric using Riemann integral, and if you complete, you are getting LPRK, which are Lebesgue measurable functions. Okay, so this is the I mean, see, in the very first lecture we said, no, Lebesgue integral is the correct notion of integration. In this sense, if you complete Riemann integral, what you get is Lebesgue integral, and now we are actually proving that. And one more important point which students stress on page 70 is that every metric space has an abstract completion. Okay, so what is, you might ask, what is a big deal? You're showing that LPRK is the completion of CCRK, but anyway, I know that CCRK has a completion and it happens to be LPRK. What's the big deal? But what is the big deal? This is a big deal that LPRK is the completion of CCRK. So what is the crucial point here? Any metric space can be completed. CCRK with DP is a metric space, and that can be completed. What's the big deal? That the completion is LPRK. So the point is that this is a concrete space, right? This is not some abstract metric space, and you are taking a space of functions with a certain metric, and by completing, it's not, some Cauchy sequence and mod out by null equivalence, whatever. It's not something abstract. You're getting a concrete space of functions as the completion. That is the important point. Okay, so various LP completions of CCRK again turn out to be spaces of functions on RK. In the abstract setting, there's nothing like that, right? Abstractly, you have some complete metric space, right? But here you have concretely realized it as space of functions on RK. Okay, so this is some remark. And now let us do p equal to infinity. So CCX, what is a completion? The point is it is not L infinity, but it is this space C0x. Okay, not CCX, but C0x. What is C0x? Continuous functions on x which vanish at infinity. So can you visualize if it was x was a real line, what does the graph look like? Vanish at infinity means what? It's going towards zero as you go higher and higher, right? So on a general space, how will you define it? Vanish at infinity. What should be the definition? You give me any epsilon, then I can take a compact set such that outside the compact set, the modulus is less than epsilon. Okay, f from
Yes,
x to c
yes.
vanishes at infinity. If for every epsilon there is a compact set case such that mod fx is less than epsilon for all x outside k. So you take this function, and if x is a locally compact Hausdorff space, then C0x is a completion of CCX. And this is what we will do. And how is CCX defined? Using a supremum norm. Didn't we say that the infinity norm is same as the supremum norm for continuous functions? We observed, no? Essential supremum is actual supremum. So this norm f, this is called the uniform norm, right? Or supremum norm. This is same as the essential supremum. Okay, that's an important point. So CCX inside L infinity, if you complete it, if you take bar, right? Its closure is not the full L infinity, but the subspace of C0x. Okay. With respect to this is same as the infinity now. And let's prove that. So C0xd is a metric space with this metric. That's easy to check. You check that it's a metric space, and we have to show that. So what do we have to show in order to show that completion is CCX? You have to show two things. One, CCX is dense in C0x, and two, you have to show that CCX is dense in C0x, and also you have to show that C0x is
Complete.
Okay, so we will show this. CCX is dense in C0x, and C0x is a complete metric space. So first density, and the next slide is, this is very easy. First density, next slide is completeness. So for density, f is in C0x and epsilon is positive. I have to find something in CCX, right? So that the difference is small. So choose compact case such that mod fx is less than epsilon for x outside k. That's by the definition of C0x. And apply Urizon and get k preceding g. So what does that mean? G is in CCX, g is between 0 and 1, and g is identically 1 on k. Right? Get such a g and just take h to be f times g. So g is compactly supported from the definition of Urizon, right? G is in CCX, valued between 0 and 1, identically 1 on k. Now if you take f times g, is it compactly supported? Because
Yes,
G is 0
support
outside
G.
compact set. Therefore, H is also 0 outside that compact set. So H is compactly supported. And will this H work? So you just take F minus H. What do you know about F minus H? So the norm of F minus H is what? F minus Fg, no? So that is F times 1 minus G. F times 1 minus G. On K, what happens? 1 minus G is?
G is less than equal to 1.
1 minus G is 0 on K. So on K, this is anyway 0. And outside K, it is F times 1 minus G. And outside K, mod F is less than epsilon. And what do you know about mod 1 minus G?
It will be less than 1.
It will be less than 2.
Means
Mod 1
Plus
minus
A
G.
both sides.
Oh, it will be less than 1 also?
yes, because G has minimum
Because G
value
is
0 and
positive.
first place. Yes.
Yes, it will be less than 1. Less than 1 or less than 2 doesn't matter, less than 1 only. And therefore, this is small. This is small always, right? On K, because G is 1, that vanishes, you get 0. And outside K, mod F is small and mod G is bounded. Therefore, this is small. So this is enough, no? So if you take F in C0x, I have got H in CCX such that the difference is arbitrarily small. Agree? So this shows CCX is dense in C0x. It was just Urizon, nothing more. And completeness, you take a Cauchy sequence in C0x. And you have to show that it has a limit in C0x, right? Fn is Cauchy in C0x means what? Beyond a stage, if you take m and n beyond a stage, mod fm minus fn, norm fn minus fn is arbitrarily small, right? Given epsilon, there is a stage such that beyond that. But what is the meaning of norm? Norm is supremum norm, uniform norm. So if fm minus fn, sup of fmx minus fnx is small. What does that mean? Fmx minus fnx modulus is small, and it does not x it for all x, right? Because the supremum is small.
Yes.
So that means the sequence fn is
In some sense,
uniformly Cauchy.
Cauchy.
Uniformly Cauchy. Fnx, the sequence fnx is uniformly Cauchy. Agree? But fnx are complex numbers, no?
Complex numbers are complete.
Complete, therefore Cauchy sequence will converge. But if it's uniformly Cauchy, what do you know about the sequence? Convergences?
Uniformly converge.
Uniformly convergent. So fnx does uniformly converge. Let's call the limit to be fx. So f is the pointwise limit of fnx, right? F is limit, fx is limit fnx. Such an f exists, but that convergence is uniform.
That's why f is
And
continuous.
fn's are continuous. Fn's are continuous. Therefore, what do you know about f?
Continuous.
That also be
Fn's are continuous and they uniformly converge to f. Therefore, the limit is continuous. So f is continuous. Are we done?
No.
Yes. Yes. Uniformly convergence.
No, we have to
requires
show that it vanishes
Euclidean
uninfinitely.
convergence.
Yeah, you have to show that fn converges to C0x. But you have got convergence to a continuous function. So if you show that f vanishes at infinity, then you are done, right?
Yes.
Yes.
This f that you have got, if you can show that it vanishes at infinity, then you are done. Agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's what we are going to show. It's easy. So fnx is uniformly Cauchy, therefore it converges uniformly to some f, which we know is continuous. Now choose epsilon. So what am I going to do? Why am I choosing epsilon? In order to show that there is a compact set beyond which mod fx is smaller than epsilon. Okay.
Less than epsilon.
So there exists n so that fn minus f is less than epsilon by 2. Why? Because fn converges to f uniformly.
Converges. Yes.
Okay, so I can get large enough n so that beyond which fn minus f is less than epsilon by 2, but pick one n. Okay, mod fn minus f is less than epsilon by 2. I also know there is a compact set such that mod fnx is less than epsilon by 2 outside K. Why? Because fn is from C0x.
Vanishes at infinity. Yes.
Yeah, and that's enough. Therefore, mod fx is less than epsilon outside K. Because mod
By
fx
triangle
is
inequality.
mod fn minus f plus mod f less than or equal to by triangle inequality, and both are less than epsilon by 2. So this is easy. Okay, so that shows completeness. So therefore f is in C0x. So by density and completeness, we have shown that CCX closure is C0x and not L infinity x. And in order to show that it's not L infinity x, you just have to give one function in L infinity x which is not in C0x. That should be easy. Right? You can take identically one, no? Constant function 1 is in L infinity x, no? Right? Constant function 1, essential supremum is 1, it is bounded, but it's not in C0x because it's constant function 1, it cannot be made less than epsilon. So density, yeah, there is this difference between p equal to infinity and p not equal to infinity. That comes from the fact that, yeah, okay. So we will stop here today. This is the end of chapter 3. One important thing is Agarow's theorem. Who's going to do Agarow's theorem? Have you decided?
Samrendra, I think.
So that will come in the first day itself. Okay. But Samarendra, are you going to do only Agarow's theorem or something else also?
Agarow's theorem with some problems.
Some problems, because Agarow's theorem may not last 20 minutes. Okay. You have to last 20 minutes minimum.
Okay, sir.
So as I told you, the marks are based on your lasting 20 minutes minimum. Okay. And also the way in which you are explaining things. And also the correctness of whatever you say with enough details. And I might ask questions, other students also might ask questions depending on how you answer. these questions. And finally, one more thing, which is, but less marks there, but some marks, which is
Slide
I told
presentation.
the
Quality
aesthetic-
of presentations.
Yeah, the quality of your slides, meaning quality of your tech. And quality of English also, there should not be too many spelling mistakes and typos, etc. But marks will be less there. But overall, so I will give marks based on overall assessment. Do you think I should give marks, or all the other participants also can give marks and I'll take the average or something? Which is better? I can stop.
Sir, only you, sir.
Let me stop sharing the screen. And only me, or why not others also? It's better, no? Everyone.
Also, sir, you can stop recording. You also can stop recording.
I can also stop recording so that you can be more open in what you say. Yeah. Record.